Hi guys, hope everyone's well and welcome back to the Improvement Podcast. So this episode, in episode 150, I'm going to talk about the importance and value of spending time at maintenance for several different purposes. Quickly, before I jump into the episode, quick update on myself and how my prep is going. So I'm currently sitting 10 days, or not 10 days, 10 weeks out today from the first show of the season, which is the BNBF Scottish, which I'm really excited for. And it's quite good timing to basically discuss sitting at maintenance, because right now I've got a deload and diet break starting today where I'll be going up to my perceived maintenance or maybe slightly above that in order to drop off fatigue, which is one of the benefits of spending time at maintenance. And yeah, prep's going well. So started at 30 weeks out, so it's absolutely flying by. Things are going smoothly, and I'm enjoying the process. Just gradually getting leaner, really. And as for the episode overview, so basically what I'm going to do today is explain what actually is maintenance, what is being at maintenance, why is it beneficial, and when should you be spending time there. So what is maintenance? Maintenance is when you're at your perceived energy balance. So when you're at your perceived maintenance calories, maintenance expenditure. So it's not just dictated by how much calories you're consuming, but also how much calories you're burning. For example, if someone, let's say, wanted to sit at maintenance and they started eating a lot more, but they started moving a lot more as well, then they might actually keep themselves in a deficit. So we want to, whenever we're considering being in a surplus, being in a deficit, being at calorie maintenance, we want to always make sure we're not just considering energy in through food, but also energy out. So you want to consider the pair of them. And just to clarify, what maintenance doesn't mean is just maintaining progress. So that's kind of a bad mindset to have. Just because your body weight is the same doesn't mean you aren't progressing, doesn't mean you don't have the ability to make progress. So don't get those two misconstrued. Due to that, a good way to maybe look at being at maintenance or being in a maintenance phase is being in a holding phase, where you're holding your body weight instead of maintaining where you're at. So, or a priming phase where you're priming yourself for your next phase, you could say. So don't view maintenance as a time to maybe step off the gas in the sense that you can't make progress. So that's just not true. Is it the best position to be in to build muscle or lose body fat? No, but it still has its utility, which I'll get to. So, if you are, let's say, wanting to sit at maintenance, it can be good for those individuals who want to gain muscle without much body fat. So, regardless of, let's say, you've been bulking or dieting, like if someone's just getting into the gym, they want to make some improvements to the body composition, being at maintenance can be valuable if you are wanting to gain muscle, but you don't want to have the body fat alongside it. Although it's not optimal to maybe try and gain muscle without bringing your body weight up or without being in a purposeful gaining phase, not a lot of people want to maybe perform a dieting phase after. Not a lot of people might be confident with their ability to take their body fat off after. So there's nothing wrong with sitting at maintenance if your goal is to build muscle. Just be aware that you're limiting your progress slightly in comparison to if you're pushing your body weight up. But if you're okay with that, go ahead. So that's one of the benefits of maintenance, or one of the circumstances where you can sit at maintenance. You will progress at a slower rate, but that's fine if you are aware of that and if you're okay with that. But it basically allows you to gain muscle without gaining much body fat in the process, and tidy up kind of the same sort of body weight. And something else you can do alternatively if you're wanting to gain muscle without much body fat is just have like an extremely slow rate of gain when you are bulking, so that it's not going to just pile on a lot of body fat, because the faster you gain at during a gaining phase, the more of that body weight you're likely going to partition towards body fat, which is why it's good to have a slow rate of gain, especially when like you realize like how much muscle you actually have. Like my body weight right now is 165 pounds. If I, let's say, like if I'm gaining like 2 pounds a week during a gaining phase, it's like it's not like, oh, that's going to be muscle. Let's be honest. If I've been training for this long, as hard as I can, as consistent as I can, and I'm still only 165 pounds, puts in this grand scheme of things how much muscle you actually have and how much you'll actually gain when you are in a gaining phase. So, when else is a gaining phase, when else is a maintenance phase warranted or valuable? So, sometimes during a gaining phase, sometimes a surplus isn't warranted for certain periods. Sometimes it's better sitting at maintenance. For example, during deload weeks, it can be good to sit at maintenance because when you're deloading, you aren't in the best position possible to gain muscle because you're not giving yourself a sufficient amount of volume to be able to do so. So in circumstances and periods like this, you can then move yourself to maintenance, or in other words, decrease maybe the calories you're consuming, or not make a food adjustment during that period if you're close to maintenance already, so that you can basically limit the amount of body fat you're gaining unnecessarily when you're having a deload week. However, you don't want to take it too far and put yourself in a calorie deficit when you're trying to drop fatigue during a deload, or when you're trying to recover as best as possible, because food is one of our tools to help us recover. It plays a part in our recovery capability, so you don't want to maybe have too little food, but you can sometimes sit at maintenance when you're in a gaining phase when a surplus isn't warranted for that reason. Something you can also consider is with sitting at maintenance is sometimes when you're gaining, you could gain too fast for a while. For example, if someone gained, let's say, pretty fast for the last 3 weeks, and then their body kind of leveled out and stopped gaining and they were sitting at maintenance, there's nothing wrong with holding at maintenance for a period. So when you're gaining, when you're bulking, you don't need to push your body weight up consistently every single week. You don't need to gain a certain amount every single week. It is okay having weeks where you don't maybe gain much weight, or having weeks where you stay exactly the same, and that's completely fine because it gives you the chance to kind of marinate that body weight and tidy up certain body weights. Whereas if you just slap on weight every single week, never maybe spend weeks where you're not really gaining much and kind of just holding where you're currently at, then you're probably going to get your body fat quite high quite fast, and maybe that could be detrimental, because what we're trying to do is push our performance up, which will reflect our muscle mass. So there's no rush in doing so. I think people get really attached to certain scale weights and getting to a certain weight in a certain period, or they need to gain X amount, whereas just sitting, holding your body weight, pushing your performance up, repeating that process can be a good thing to do, especially when you have weeks that are too fast, so that, let's say, over the space of a month, your rate of gain is appropriate, even if, let's say, one of those weeks is at maintenance. And because that's what we want to consider, we don't just want to consider, right, what's our rate of gain during a week, but what's the rate of gain during a few weeks, a month, etc. Because we want to look back at that period and gain an appropriate amount, because weight gain won't always be completely linear and super predictable for many reasons. And what you can also consider is, if, let's say, your body fat is getting too high and you're not wanting to diet just yet, being in maintenance is a good place to be in. For example, if it gets to December and you are maybe at peak body weight, or you're not really wanting to gain much more weight because you don't want your body fat getting too high, then this is an absolutely great time to spend time at maintenance, because this will allow you to solidify what body weight you're currently at, meaning hold the body weight you're currently at, kind of solidify the muscle you've gained during that phase. It will allow you to make sure you're definitely mentally ready for a diet, because you're having even longer spent out of a calorie deficit, and it means you can kind of tidy up that body weight, you could say, before heading into a diet come January. So times like maybe December is a great time to spend time at maintenance if you don't want to gain any more kind of body weight, or specifically body fat. Something else you can consider during a gaining phase is, if hunger's super low, it can be good reason to spend some time at maintenance. For example, if you're finding, right, you're pushing food, you're really struggling, sometimes just spending time just not gaining much can help maintain that appetite throughout a push-up phase, because it can mean you'll remain a bit more sensitive to the food you're consuming. So that's something you can consider. And as for dieting phases, so these can be used during maintenance phases can be used during extended dieting phases strategically, serving as like a diet break. So this is somewhat what I'm kind of doing now, a diet break while also deloading. And to quickly comment on why diet break and deload at the same time is, for myself, the goal of the diet break is to drop fatigue. And if I am accumulating fatigue through training hard, trying to progress my lifts while taking a diet break, it's counterproductive. Because it's like it's like the analogy, like burning the candle at both ends. I'm putting one side of the candle out, but the other side of the candle's still burning. Like I'm still accumulating fatigue through training hard if I don't deload while diet breaking at the same time. So that's why I'm doing both at once, because I don't want to like keep accumulating fatigue. The goal is to drop fatigue throughout this week, and doing just one of them is somewhat counterproductive. So when should you maybe perform a diet break? Should most individuals do it? Potentially not. It depends on their circumstances. I don't think most individuals warrant diet breaks because usually they aren't consistent enough. They don't have a consistent enough rate of loss, and they've not done that extreme a dieting phase to warrant it. But when you could potentially consider like a diet break is during extended dieting phases, so ones where you're losing a lot of weight or ones where you're getting really lean. So if, let's say, your gym performance is getting very poor, if maybe you've lost more than 10% of your body weight, or when diet fatigue and hunger's higher, then you could consider spending time at maintenance. And if you've got like a lot of weight to lose, so let's say someone's losing let's say they're overweight and they're losing a lot of weight, then sometimes breaking up their dieting phases throughout periods at maintenance can be a good idea so that they're mentally fresh. So you can't underestimate the benefit of mentally being able to kind of approach and attack a certain phase. Because if, let's say, mentally we're burnt out, then it doesn't matter how we're doing physically if adherence isn't in a good spot. So it's better to have like a strategic maintenance phase in there instead of it happening without any sort of purpose or without any intention behind it, just due to struggling with adherence. So what you can also consider is like if you become sick during a gaining phase or dieting phase and you're not going to be in a good position to build tissue due to being off the gym or backing off during training in the gym, then it's a good idea to spend time at maintenance. So obviously if you're dieting while not providing yourself a sufficient stimulus to retain muscle, then you do not want to continue dieting because you don't want to lose the muscle tissue. Same with when you're in a gaining phase, like you don't want to be giving yourself or putting yourself in quite like a large surplus if you're not in the position to build muscle. So in that case, being at maintenance is a good idea when you're potentially sick. So that's what I recommend doing if you are ever in that position. And another reason is because if you're sick, your body's under stress, and to kind of recover, you want to not accumulate any more fatigue through being in a deficit. So that's another good reason too. And also, like before holidays, I think it's great to spend time at maintenance or even a slight surplus. So I always try and wrap clients' diets up a good few weeks before their holiday. So if someone's going on like an all-inclusive holiday, what will happen if you end the holiday or end the diet the day before they step on the plane or right before they step on the plane? They're going to go on holiday with hunger being high, food focus being high, calorie maintenance being low, carrying a lot of kind of fatigue. So what I like to do is I like to wrap up their diet a few weeks early and put them in maintenance or even a slight surplus. And what does this allow us to do? This allows us to work their food up, or in other words, their calorie maintenance up to a more sustainable level. And what that basically means is when they go on holiday, they won't just be able to enjoy themselves more, eat certain foods, etc., and be more relaxed, but they'll also not gain much weight in the process because they've got a higher calorie maintenance. Whereas if you put someone, let's say, if someone goes on holiday and their calorie maintenance is super low, you're not going to have as much flexibility, and you don't want to like pay a lot to go away somewhere on holiday just to not be able to enjoy yourself. And also you want to do so just so you can decrease your hunger. So if you spend time at maintenance prior to a holiday, you're going to drop off diet fatigue, and part of being fatigued with a diet is having elevated hunger levels. So having time at maintenance will also decrease your hunger, again leading to a better ability to manage your holiday effectively, and then come back, maybe come back the same weight, or come back with gaining less. And also, like, you're less focused on food, your mind's less preoccupied on food because you've had more of it, you've not been as deprived on it immediately before going away. So basically it leads to better holiday management. So what you could do is, let's say someone doesn't spend time at maintenance before a holiday, they just go on holiday the day after finishing a diet. Then what usually happens, they'll have again that elevated hunger, they'll have that food focus, which means they might gain 2 kilos. Whereas if, let's say, I ended a diet with a client, let's say a month before the holiday, then they could basically push their performance up, progress their lifts. Let's say they gain half a kilo to a kilo, and then on holiday, they just due to their hunger being lower, their calorie maintenance being higher, they might gain a kilo, so they might come back the same weight as if they ended the diet right before the holiday. But in the second scenario, they've had a month's less dieting and a month to work their food up, which is also going to result in a better look. So if you drop diet fatigue, if you're pushing your lifts up and you're sitting at a similar body weight, you're going to look better for it. So not only will it allow you to kind of manage that holiday more effectively, but also be in a better spot in terms of how you're looking visually. So yeah, like, what I'd say about maintenance phases is they've got their place. They can be good to, when you're in a gaining phase, manage that rate of gain when you've had the faster weeks, keep hunger in a good spot instead of just shoving a ton of food in whenever you have weeks where you don't gain a lot. During dieting phases, they can be good to serve as a good mental break and a physical break, and be a good kind of period to drop fatigue, as well as periods of sickness where you're not in a good position to build muscle. And also, like, before a holiday, like I said, so that you can manage that holiday as effectively as possible. So what I'd say is, if for whatever reason you're not in a good position to diet or gain, being at maintenance isn't a bad idea at all. Sometimes well, not sometimes, it can definitely be favourable, for sure, in certain periods. But I hope you've enjoyed the episode. If there's any specific topics you'd like to see covered, then please just let me know. And please, 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 if you are watching this on YouTube, subscribe, leave a comment, and also if you are listening to this on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, leave a rating and review. I really appreciate everyone's support as always, and hope you enjoyed the episode on when to spend time at maintenance.